Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Xtreme Memories right here on the Wrestling Chatter channel, exclusively on YouTube. Thank you to all the fans that have been supporting us. And we've had a lot of guests so far, and this one is a special one. A lot of people, sir, have been asking about you. I've been wanting to know what's up, and it's been great getting back in touch with you. We've been doing this. We got back in touch with us before this interview, so it's been a joy for me to get back in touch with you, Vic. But our guest is the one and only, the legendary, vicious Vic Grimes, and he is here on Xtreme Memories. Again, folks, the Wrestling Chatter channel, the more subscribers we get, the more great content we can bring you. So be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification so you can see all the great content, not just Xtreme Memories, but other shows on this channel. Like this video, and again, share it with anybody and everybody who you think would be interested. But Vic Grimes, welcome, my friend. It has been a minute since we've seen each other. I want to say the last time you and I saw each other, I want to say it was Wrestling Society X. If we saw each other after that, I can't recall at the top of my head, but that might have been the last time I seen you.
I don't remember. I did one more show for a XPW reunion thing. I don't know if you were there. But
was that Cold Day in Hell or the XPW, the one in Hollywood, XPW 10? Do you remember?
It was in Hollywood. I know that.
Okay, so I was there. And you went against who on that show?
I didn't wrestle. I came out as a manager.
Okay, right.
I was kind of hurt at the time, and I ended up. Oh, man, I don't even know the guy's name. He had an all-white face.
Oh, Carnage.
Carnage, yeah. I helped him beat up Supreme.
Okay,
yeah. Right.
Okay,
and
cool.
I did a flaming pizza cutter on his forehead. I lit it on fire. Yeah.
I do remember that now, man.
Yeah. You remember that?
That's
first time I ever lit the pizza cutter on fire.
Well, you know, you hear about these. What are this? The oven. When you go to those restaurants where they put the pizza in the oven, the flames come out. So you were ahead of your time right there, man. You know.
Yeah.
Well, Vic, hey, that's right, man. And we'll get into all that. And we want to thank the fans that have been sharing comments, asking questions, and you, my friend, are right at the top of that list. So I'm sure there are going to be a lot of happy people out here to hear you interviewed right here. But let's kick it off, Vic. Tell us how you got, before it all started. How did you get involved with professional wrestling?
You know, there was a time in my life where I wasn't going down the right path, and I was involved in doing the wrong things. And I was the quick version. I was involved in gangs, and I needed to get out of that lifestyle. Yeah. And so I packed up and moved out of California, and I went to live with my dad in Missouri. And pretty much I was on drugs, and I needed to get off drugs. And my dad actually was a minister, and he helped me get off drugs. And when I did finally get off the drugs, he asked me what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I told him, I said, well, I really don't know. But he said, well, what do you like to do? And I said, well, when I was in high school, I liked wrestling. I was pretty good at it. I was 2-time state champion, you know. But you know, the quick version of it, there's, you know, you can't do that. I was done with, college, you know, goes on. And well, pretty much my dad said, if I can get you involved in maybe doing something like maybe pro wrestling. Would you be interested? And I laughed at him, all that fake stuff, And he goes, well, you like acting, right? And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, you like athletics, you like entertainment. He goes, would you be interested? Yeah, it all goes together. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah. Well, he actually came back with this little booklet, and you probably know what I'm talking about. It has all the wrestling schools in the United States.
That's right.
You remember that booklet
Yeah.
that they used to sell?
Yeah.
But they didn't have one in Missouri.
Wow.
But they had one right down the street where I used to live in California, right in the heartland of all the drug dealing I used to do, all the bad people I used to be around. And so I had to actually go right back into the den, the heart lion of the den, and be around all those bad people I was around, and go to a school called All Pro Wrestling and learn how to pro wrestle.
Right.
But the thing is, as soon as I got back in that area, they heard about how my dad converted me into like this little Christian boy, and they didn't want no part of me because they didn't want to hear me preach to them. So I ended up going to the school, and I guess I think it was within 9 months, I ended up showing my athletic skills, and within 9 months, without actual showing any video, any portfolio, no pictures, no nothing to anybody, I ended up getting called by the WWF themselves, and they ended up wanting me to do a tryout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what year was that?
That was 2000, I think, or no,
Okay.
I'm not sure. To be honest with you, it was a while ago. It was back then.
Right. Okay. Because you were in ECW in so now you were in WWE, WWF prior to your ECW run, correct?
Yeah, you're asking what now? I was with WWE. Yeah, it was actually WWF at the time. That's
Right.
how old I am.
Me too.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. Dory Funk Jr. was the one that trained me there, and Tom Pritchard. They were the trainers, and it was definitely totally different than it is now. I had my little run there, and then it was under a developmental contract. Things went wrong. It's a lot of political stuff behind the scenes. I guess they didn't like me. The boys did not like me because I guess I was a big man that could fly and could do things that, could take away hypothetically their spot. And they saw that right off the bat. And so if they don't make me look good, I don't look good, And so right off the bat, the office was like, what the hell's going on? This isn't the guy we hired, and I'm like, well, they're not letting me do anything. And they're like, well, just do it. And I'm like, so I'm asking to call stuff in the back with these guys, and they're like, hey, we're the veterans. We call the match. And so it's politics. I had to let them call the match, and then it was just boring matches, and it wasn't. So one day we ended up having this match, and I remember Jim Ross comes in the back, and I'm wrestling Al Snow, and he says, hey, let him do whatever he wants. And I was like, ooh. all right.
Right.
And so he looks over at me and he goes, all right, what do you want to do? And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Tackle, drop down, flaming table, whatever, right? Just making a joke, right? And so I'm naming off all this stuff, and he's like, dude, this ain't pay-per-view, hey, we got to calm it down. Hey, let's do this. So we spiked up a good match, and it was great. And it was on Monday night, but it wasn't on TV. And it was in Memphis, and it was a great match. I mean, it was really a good match. I mean, even Al Snow did a moonsault off the top rope to the floor from the turnbuckle. I mean, and he didn't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And did a lot of stuff where I missed, and splatted on the floor or whatever, and landed on the ramp. I did a complete dive out and did a flip and landed on the ground. Kind of, you've seen stuff like that before they've done. Come back. I get back in the locker room. Jim Ross comes back there and he's like, dude, that was badass. Whoa, and then he goes, hey, Al, how was it? How was it? Good to work with him or what? No. He goes, he's terrible. Threw me under the bus. He goes, real difficult to work with. I looked, I'm like, what? Yeah. Killed me instantaneously. Vic Grimes was done. I literally was like, oh my God, are you serious? And from that point on, they pulled me to the side. They said I needed more work. I had to basically go down to ECW and get built back up to be like how Al Snow did. Al Snow went to ECW. They built up the head gimmick, and they said, okay, we're going to take you there, maybe build you back up and bring you back up. They had no plans to build me back up and bring me. They dumped me off at ECW, and I was done. And I think ECW even knew that that's what they were going to do. And they didn't have no plans to push me, so they put me off with the Baldies. And I was third wheel with the Baldies at first. But then eventually they learned that, hey, this guy could work.
Right.
If it when I think it was DeVito got hurt and me and Angel start tagging together, they're like, oh, this guy could work. And then eventually they did some individual matches. And then eventually I ended up doing some stuff with Dreamer and Balls.
Right.
And did something with Cash, Kid Cash, I think his name was. I did some individual matches, and they were like, this guy could actually work, and they were like, it'd be nice to do some programs, some stuff. But they knew they were going to get rid of me. It just, New Jack didn't like me. And politics again, boom, out the door. I'm out the door again. So what sucks is in wrestling, politics plays a big story. You don't get a chance to show your stuff. And there again, you're pushed to the back of the line and you're done. And it's sad because a lot of people got talent, and it's sad that you can't show your talent. And your next day news. I never got a chance. I mean, I wish honestly that I could have been able to show the world what I could have done. But I guess it's not God's will,
Yeah, I remember a story that you mentioned to me when you met Mick Foley in the back. And
Yeah.
Mick Foley was one of the guys who appreciated and saw what you were doing. You want to share a little bit of that? Because you just mentioned that to me last time we were talking on the phone.
Yeah. He actually heard about me, and he actually saw videos on me, and he heard that I was coming up in the ranks, and said actually to me in the back locker room, he goes, man, I can't wait to work with you. I can only imagine the things we could do together, because of what I can take and what the falls and the bumps that me and him can do together, and the individual innovation that we could put together would be awesome matches. And but it never got to that level because politics, and so one thing that I can honestly say is in some schools, they don't teach you that.
Right.
You don't learn politics. You learn moves, you learn a lot of different stuff, but you don't. I mean, yeah, it's common sense. Keep your mouth shut. Do whatever you're told, but you still got to be able to do what you do to make it in the business. But I mean, the boys control what goes on in the back, and it's tough business, man. It really is.
It's interesting,
and it's too bad that me and Mick never got a chance to show what we could have done, because I mean, I could have been not to toot my own horn, I could have been the next Mick Foley.
Easily. And you're not tooting your horn, because I think a lot of people watching that know your work know that you could easily be right up there.
Yeah, I definitely how do I explain it? I've done some stuff, and I've done a lot of matches like him, and he has a book, and on the back of his book it shows all the stuff that he's broke and all the hurts and stuff that he had. On the back of my book, I've never hurt myself.
Right.
I've never, and I've done all the same stuff he's done and more. God gave me a gift. I'm indestructible. I mean, I'm sorry that it sounds like I'm bragging, but thank the Lord, I'm still going.
No, you're literally just stating a fact.
Yeah.
which is you're right. The threshold for pain, and the way you were just built, whether you feel the pain or not. Nothing breaks so easily with you. So now that was your experience in WWE, and you had that with Al Snow, you had that with Foley. Interesting confrontation meeting with Mick Foley there. Almost looking back, too bad that it couldn't have been Foley in that match with you instead of Al Snow. But the littlest things like that, who knows what can happen from it. Okay, so continuing, Vic, where we left off. So that was your experience in WWE, WWF. Now, and then you were brought into ECW. Question I have for you, like, now it's kind of out of the bag, but when ECW was in its prime, its heyday, people didn't know that people viewed it as this renegade independent league, not knowing that it was kind of in conjunction working with Big Brother, working with WWE. Did you guys know that at the time, or did they kind of kayfabe that from the boys?
They kayfabed it. It was kind of like it was, of course, a separate entity. It was kind of like we're over here, and not like a farm area.
Right.
It was like ECW is going to be its own thing over here, kind of like a WCW. And they really didn't think we would be a competing thing. But it was their gig, too. But they never like said, like we have any control over it.
Right.
Until later they killed it off, kind of thing.
Yeah. So your run in ECW was that, and you talked about how New Jack didn't like you and all that. Now, are you talking about because you said WWE was done with you, then ECW was done with you, and that was your one stint. You had one stint in ECW, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And was that at a time when you came off of the Scaffold with New Jack, and that was right at the end of your ECW run, correct?
You mean Danbury, Connecticut, or we fell together?
Mhm.
That one? No, we actually worked more after that, but I mean, not me and New Jack, but I did more matches after that, but we kind of stayed away from each other.
Right,
Um, um, I ended up doing stuff with the Baldies
right,
and
right.
some other guys, but honestly, we stayed away from, or I stayed away from New Jack. He
Yeah,
was pissed off at me, because of the situation. You
sure.
know.
So now when you were toward the end of your run in ECW, were you familiar with XPW? How did you know about it? And did you know about it when you got hired, or was there talks about it before? I mean, you're from California, and and you were kind of like in with that crew with Pogo, Rosano, and all those guys. You kind of live near each other, correct? Up in the Bay
Yeah,
Area.
we do. We're up north. We're the those guys. I'm right by all them. And what ended up happening was I was with ECW even when XPW did their little invasion. I was there. I was with ECW when that
Right.
happened. And so I was like, well, who's these guys trying to get their 10 minutes of fame or whatever, right? But I knew about XPW at the time, but I never thought of actually wrestling for them because I thought of them as this like CCW kind of hardcore, crazy organization that wasn't uh, how do I explain it? This is what I was told, that it didn't have credibility, and if you worked there, that you wouldn't be uh, kind of like considered uh, a good worker anymore, like the garbage company or whatever, that kind of thing. And when I finally, got back to California, what ended up happening was at ECW, I ended up doing some pay per view at ECW in California, and I lived in Philadelphia at the time. They said, "Well,
Mm,
why don't you just move back to California instead of us flying you back and forth? You're going to get married anyway." And I was getting married at that time. And
right.
he goes, "Be with your wife and everything, and we'll just fly you in from California." They weren't going to fly me in from California, and they're just telling me, "See ya," And that was my last stay, and I they never even talked to me again after that.
Mm, yeah.
And yeah, it was pretty hardcore, and I never got paid again. They didn't even pay me at the end. Um, uh, and I went home. Never heard from him again. Really, it
Wow.
was pretty sad. And so I sat home and I'm like, is my wrestling career done? And so I got my boy Pogo and Rosano and a couple others, and they're doing once a month gigs down here down in LA at XPW. And I think I went down with them one time just for a ride along to check it out. And because I think they weren't flying down, they were just riding down in
Right.
a car. They rented a
Yeah.
car and they all went down. And I enjoyed it. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I think I don't know if it was at the Olympic Auditorium at the time, but eventually, when my first one down there, but eventually you guys start doing it there quite often, and in other places also. But you know, I think New Jack came into the scene, and when he came into the scene, they were like, "Oh, maybe we can pair these guys up," and that's what they did. They married
Yeah.
up, and then it was just the New Jack Vic Grimes, marriage. So
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And before I get into that, like explain like so how did you first before that though, who so you the first time you went to see XPW. It was just a ride along with those guys. Check it out. Did you talk to anybody like Kevin or Rob before that, or is that when you initially met them? After that ride?
I never did. I went and just was a ride along, checking it out, and I remember Pogo. He's in the back and he's trying to get paid by Rob. Kevin, and he introduced me to him, and he goes, "Hey, this is Vic Grimes," and he's all, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And he goes, "You ever thought about working with us?" He didn't even know I was there, and I said, "Well, I'm down here. I wouldn't mind checking this out. I live in California, right up, up north, and so." Yeah, I wouldn't mind checking it out. So I think I don't know if he put me on the next card or not, but I ended up coming down one more time, and then we talked. Me and Rob talked, and then they wanted to know how they could debut me, and then I think New Jack came in and he was beating up the Black Army or something pretty good, and then they were talking about how they could debut me, and they had me underneath the ring, and I ended up pizza cutting through the ring, and I attacked New Jack from behind and grabbed his guitar and bashed him over the head.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I want to say that was at the Olympic.
I don't remember, be honest with you.
All right. Okay. All right. So that was interesting how you stumbled upon XPW. They saw you, and of course we want you here, and all that. But like it's so the next question I had was like, aside from national television exposure, what were some of the differences between the ECW, the XPW, and the WWE locker room, where ECW and XPW kind of similar and WWE was, or even the differences between XPW and ECW? Did you feel any different, or was it just being with the boys either way?
ECW and XPW locker rooms were similar. They were relaxed, and we were allowed to pretty much discuss and do the matches and styles that we wanted to do, and I called it "do your thing," And I mean, if you want to get busy, you can get busy. In WWF, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but I overheard him, "Hey, you got 4 minutes from curtain to curtain." It was 4 minutes. Oh my God, why? I'm going to take my sweet time getting there. I'm going to take my sweet time leaving. I ain't doing nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, you give me 4 minutes, I'm going to get down.
Right.
I'll put on a show. Even to this day, if I worked 20 years, I still would put on a show.
Mm-hmm.
You give me 4 minutes. I'm not going to walk and talk and not kill myself, but I'm not going to go kill myself, but I'm going to do something with 4 minutes, know, and what I'm getting at is that that's the difference between, I do remember when I was with, ECW, and they saw I was before the show, and this actually happened. I'm in the ring, and I'm just working out. And all of a sudden, Kid Cash gets in the ring, and he's like wanting to go over a couple spots in the corner, and he needs a base, a guy my size, to do like a Hurricanrana, a tilt-a-whirl Hurricanrana out of the corner. Mm-hmm. So he's running up the ropes into the corner, and I'm basing him, and he's running the ropes, and he's spinning off my head, and he's doing a Rana, and I'm doing the flip bump. And we did it, and it looked so smooth. And I said, "Hey, why don't you do it like this?" I said, "Why don't you do where you run up the ropes, you jump on you run up the ropes, you bounce on the ropes with your ass, you flip up onto my shoulders, and we spin around and do this, and it's something different,
Yeah.
And blah blah blah. I'm just suggesting a bunch of different stuff that hasn't been done. And we did it a different sequence. We did a bunch of different stuff, and then people were watching, and they're like, "Dude, you guys look good together. Maybe you should try something." So all of a sudden, Dreamer comes over and he goes, "Hey, if I put you guys on tonight, can you give me 3 minutes from curtain to curtain? 3 minutes." We're like, "Yeah." We blew it up. I mean, we
Yeah.
blew it up. I don't know if you saw that match, but it was pretty bad.
Three
You should
minutes.
check,
Wow.
yeah,
And then, like you
you
said,
should check it out.
you take advantage of that, you know?
Yeah, yeah. We I think it's one of my best matches ever. If you actually,
Wow.
if you check it out, look it up. It's probably on YouTube. Kid Cash
Okay.
and Vic Grimes.
Yeah. We invite the fans to absolutely look that up.
Look that up. Yeah.
Look it up and throw some comments down here about that, or if you have a link to that match even, and we'll do that as well if we find it. Great, man. So now Vic, you're in XPW. What was it like being in XPW, being in this company that was pretty much pushing the envelope, not just for the violence, but for the sex, all that. And what were your thoughts on working with Rob Black?
Black, I liked him. You know, a lot of people didn't. You know, I really did. I thought he was cool. I liked Rob. I liked Kevin. I liked all the crew. I thought they were cool. I really liked the environment. You know, a lot of people could say, "Oh, I hated XPW. I thought it was stupid or whatever." You know, I liked the corniness of some of the TV shows. I liked the way you and your brother, when you did commentating. You know, that guy or whatever. You know.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I remember all the TV stuff you guys did and your commentating. It was fun back then, you know. And I really I thought it was a good solid TV show too that you guys were putting on, you know, and also good videos that you guys were selling, you know, and it was they were hardcore too, you know. I mean, I did an exploding ring match outside, you know, and that fall, you know, the fall from death or whatever. That you don't see that you know, they don't sanction nothing like that in the WWF or anywhere, you know, that kind of stuff. So I mean, you guys actually, or XPW, put on stuff that was just unreal, you know. I mean, yeah. You know, where you power bomb people on cars, you know what I mean?
Right. And Pico Rivera,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was cool.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, what you brought up, what is it like? I think this is a question that a lot of people would love to hear you answer, but what was it like? Because you literally are immortalized, Vic, for that infamous scaffold match at the Grand Olympic Auditorium, 40 feet scaffold match. You know, featured on Dark Side of the Ring, and even somewhere, I guess on YouTube, was, you know, top 10 craziest moments in the history of pro wrestling. We're talking Japan, Mexico, WWE, WCW, you know, everywhere, XPW, ECW. Top 10 craziest moments, and that is easily in the top 10, and rightfully so. They put it in, but I mean, talk about that, man, because we all, going back to myself, and I talked to Rivera, and we didn't call a lot of with him. We didn't call live, but when he left, we actually called a lot of the events live, and that was one of them where we were there calling the match live. And I remember, man, the air was so thick in that place. And the element of danger for the fans just walking in, just looking at that scaffold. I remember it felt like so unregulated and so like anything could happen at an XPW show.
OSHA did not approve that night. I'll tell you that.
Who?
OSHA.
Oh, okay.
You know what that is?
It was like going into the arena you felt the fans were like this way. You just knew it was a historic moment, for better for worse, right? Because we didn't know, we were worried for you guys, right? You especially.
Yeah, I can honestly say this. I don't fear anything except responsibility, and I got married and I take care of my kids. But that night when I walked in that arena, I was a little scared. I looked up and I went, "Holy crap." I go, "Whoa, that's tall." I go, "That's pretty high." And my boy behind me goes, "Well, you can call it off." And I go, "Yeah, right." I go, "It's set in stone." I go, "We're the main event." It ain't happening, And I was just looking at it, and I was like, "Well, man, it's got to do it. It ain't nothing but to do it. But to do it, the first thing I wanted to do was go up there. So I climbed up there, and I had to check it out. And when I got up there, I noticed that I go, I got to move this ring over. I go,
Really?
if I don't, when I dive off this thing, I'm going to go straight to the floor because it literally,
Yeah.
yeah, I had to move it over, I think 5 or 6 feet at least. And so I remember like 10 or 15 guys got in the ring and they just hit the ropes and bounced against it, and the whole ring slid over, you know. And literally, I was going, yeah, thank God I did that before. I can only imagine if I didn't do that, I literally would have went straight to the concrete and died, you know.
Amazing. And we all know that. And yeah, I remember coming to the arena that night, and you were one of the guys who, if I ever see, I always said what's up to, and totally cool. And you were kind of off to yourself, a little bit, not right at Gorilla, but like kind of like there's this walkway between Gorilla and the locker room, and on that
Yeah.
walkway you can kind of go off to the side, and you were just kind of by yourself. Really, you could tell you had a big weight, and
Oh yeah.
I think I went up to you and said what's up, and you're just like politely you said, no, not right now. Whatever.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And
I was in the zone. I had to focus,
oh,
It
yeah.
was
So
funny.
I mean, I can attest to what you're telling the fans right now, how you were that night, and I visually can remember that because I probably wanted to tell you to be careful or something. But now when you were up there, like, I mean, what the question that everyone has, like, I guess, like the whole experience, anything you can share about it, but what was it like literally, like once you got thrown off? Do you remember what was going through your head, or just let your body loose and don't think of anything, before you hit the rope, gone back into the ring?
No, when I flew off, I knew where I was, and I knew that I was aiming towards that turnbuckle, and I was saying to myself, "Oh God, please let me land in the ring." And as I was turning and flipping, if you notice in the video, I'm tucking my left shoulder and I'm trying to throw myself into the ring. And especially when I hit the turnbuckle, I knew once I hit the turnbuckle, my weight, I did this and I flipped as hard as I could left to get in the ring instead of flipping out onto the concrete. And when I did that, it jarred my left leg pretty good, my hip, and I thought I broke my leg, and but it didn't. I didn't hurt. I actually didn't hurt myself at all, which was amazing. But uh, you know, actually 2 weeks later is when I got hurt. I literally walked away just with nothing right then and there. But 2 weeks later, I had such a bruise on my lower legs from my knees all the way to my butt. And it was black, blue, brown, yellow, and white and red all the way. It went to the bone. and it stayed there for 2.5 months. And it was so big. It was so big, it went across both my legs and all the way up my butt. The whole thing was like one giant black spot. And I ended up jarring my back and my lower back so bad I had to go to a chiropractor and go into traction and have my back pulled apart. And it was rough. It was a rough time, but I made it. I made it out,
I mean, I know you say, and you said on the phone to me, like, for what it's worth, man, oh, you didn't get the fair shake, Al Snow and all that, WWE. And I agree, man. Like, if the world could see what you could do, but if there's ever an example of that, it's one of the top 10 craziest moments in professional wrestling that you were involved in, and you were the guy that came up and walked away from that. You literally did walk away from that. When you came off that scaffold, remember, I put the headphones down after we called it, didn't say a word after that. What am I going to say, right? But just walking over, because I didn't know if you were dead, man, but then I saw you moving a little bit, then we still didn't know like how serious it was yet. So there was so much concern.
I was kayfabing and working it to where I had my eyes closed, and these paramedics are over there, and they're just like, "Open your eyes," and I'm like, "No, no." And I got my mouth closed and my eyes closed, and they're like, "You okay?" And I go, "Yeah," they're like, "Well, open your eyes," and I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Move your legs." I'm like, "No," I'm thinking to myself, "Get the hell away from me," right? And then finally, Rob Black comes over and he goes, "Vic, you all right?" I go, "Yeah, tell this idiot to get away from me. I'm all good." And he looks over at the paramedic and he goes, "Yeah, he's fine. He's all right." But what was weird, and this was the craziest thing, is that all of a sudden when I did open my eyes, I look to my right and I see my mom. And I'm like, "What?" And I go, "Mom?" And she's like, "You effing idiot. You scared the shit out of me." And she's just yelling at me, And she goes, "You all right?" I go, "Yeah, I'm okay." She goes, "Oh, you scared me," and she ran down from the top or wherever she was sitting so fast that she forgot her purse.
Oh, shoot.
And these two other kids come running back and gave her purse, which was
Wow.
really cool. I thought that was cool of them.
Totally.
And she had this custom Vic Grimes shirt she made, and she gave that to the kids.
Awesome, man. Wow, interesting. Yeah. It's an interesting side story about your
And
influence.
the thing is, it was Kevin that ended up bringing my mom down, and I had no clue that my mom was even going to be there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of no clue, did your mom have any clue what was to go down in that match?
No, she just knew that I was doing a scaffold match, and she didn't know how tall it was. She just knew that I was wrestling Jack, and she knows the history of me and Jack, and she was afraid that it could get out of hand, which it did. And I do want to say one thing about Jack, okay? And hopefully, if he's listening, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I'm sorry if anything physically, if you really are hurt, and if I left a mark, and if you're damaged from anything that me and you have ever done in the past, I'm sorry. I did not mean to ever hurt you. Shit happens, and I hope you accept my apology. All right? I don't know how to say it any better than that.
That was couldn't have said it better myself, and that was beautiful, and I'm sure that will resonate. But by the way, fans, just to That's totally credible right here. This is one of the most genuine people you'll meet in this business. And also, just to give it more credibility, when Vic and I got back in touch with each other before doing this show, talking about doing the show, you expressed that to me as well, one-on-one with nobody else listening, how sorry you are, and then that you hate to see things misconstrued to where someone thinks you wouldn't be sorry. And so knowing you personally, there's no way if you did something that was a mistake that you wouldn't be sorry. We actually were scheduled, you and I, to do an interview last week, and something came up with you, which is totally fine. But this guy was so apologetic. I was like, Vic, you're good, dude. Like, we're good. No, man, I'm sorry. So yes, this guy, when he says sorry, he means it. And so thank you.
I got in a motorcycle kind of accident, and I ran myself over.
Yeah,
literally ran.
Yeah, I want to get into that, but please, we Vic and I were set to do an interview. I think like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then you got into a motorcycle accident, which I'll get to in a little bit. Why you're riding motorcycles now, but yeah. You got into an accident, and we had to postpone this, but we're here. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? How that happened, and where you're at now?
Yeah, we can. But I want to conclude the first thing that we were talking about.
Please.
New Jack. We have a history. I want to bury the history. I just want to apologize. I said it earlier. I hope that we can bury this. I hope that that you are okay. I don't know how to say it other than that, and I'm sorry. So let's end it with that and move on. So anyways, I'm a changed man now. I'm different. As you can see, I don't know if you can see what it says there. I ride for a motorcycle ministry called Bikers for Christ. I am actually the president, which is called an elder. I went from, I guess you can call it, baptized in blood to now baptizing people.
Yeah.
So my life has changed. I am a different person. God directed me to go a different route. I'm no longer wrestling. I'm not a preacher, but I go. Every one of us on the motorcycle ministry does preach. We do baptisms. We marry people. We do funerals. We preach to motorcycle clubs. Right. We go to motorcycle, like Hell's Angel events and stuff, and we're their ministers, basically. Mm-hmm. So anytime they need prayer, or if a motorcycle guy goes down on the freeway, we go to the hospital and pray over him. That's what our ministry is. So we're there for them when they need, basically, Jesus is everywhere. So we have basically 29 chapters in California, and we're worldwide right now, and we have in every state we have a chapter. So we're pretty big. So we're getting there.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, man. I was really worried about you a few weeks ago when you did get into a little bender, but I ended up. But at the same time, when you told me how kind of gnarly the accident was, and then you kind of like when you came off the scaffold, you're like, "Man, I'll be okay."
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I am getting older. Even though Wikipedia says I'm 7 or 8 years older than what I am, and they haven't changed it. I'm only 51. Okay, but I am getting older, but I'm not that old. So I'm not indestructible anymore. So I do get hurt. I used to think that nothing would, you can hit me with a brick and I still would, nothing happen, but now you might hit me with a brick and I might go down. So,
right. Well,
But when you run yourself over with a motorcycle and it weighs 900 pounds, I think you might leave a mark, you know.
yeah, I think so. I think, but like you said, when all the things you've done, it just, I was worried, but it's like when you said you were fine, I'm like, only Vic, right? Only Vic, you know. So, do you have like, I know that scaffold match was like, again, it's so historic, not just for XPW, but in professional wrestling. Do you have a favorite match? Do you have a favorite opponent in XPW?
Yeah, I do actually. Well, besides all the crazy stuff that I've done in XPW, you know, I've done falling off scaffolds and I've done blown up ring matches with Supreme, which I love wrestling Supreme. I do want to put him over right now. Wrestling Supreme, let me say one thing, or a couple things about Supreme. This isn't my favorite stuff about XPW. This is just one thing I want to say about Supreme real quick. Supreme, oh, I love him, man. And it's too bad he passed away. But one thing about Supreme, I gotta say this. Before he passed away, I'm driving. I drive semi trucks also right now, besides my ministry. And I'm in San Francisco, and I'm driving a truck, and all of a sudden, on the left hand side, I see this gigantic billboard, and it says Supreme. The billboard says Supreme, and that's the only word it said on the billboard.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. So
Yeah.
I took a picture of it and I call him up, and I call up Lester and I said, "Hey," I go, "what the heck, man?" And I shoot him the picture, right? And I said, I go, "Supreme?" I go, "I'm in the city," and he goes, "I'm everywhere, man."
You what? Say again?
He goes, "I'm everywhere, man." You know, and it was funny. And now, you know, he really is everywhere,
There
you
you
know,
go.
and so that's a good, you know, for right now, you know, that's my last actual talking with him on the phone. But
Mhm.
I also have another memory I want to share real quick.
Please.
How crazy he is. Um, when we were in, I think it was one of the death matches that we had. Uh, I think it was King of the Ring, where I won the King of the Ring match or
Yeah.
death match or
King
something
of the
like that.
Death.
King
Yeah.
of the Death match, where I had the big trophy.
Mhm.
Um, I remember in I think it was the final match, they took down the wire, or they took down the ropes and they put barbed wire around it. And one of the actual ropes had no wire, and then down below they had fluorescent tubes and a box of fluorescent tubes down there. So we're literally, there is, you know, an area where he could fall off or I can fall off into the box of tubes.
Right.
And so we're doing a spot in the ring, and all of a sudden I kick him in the stomach and clothesline him, and then pick him up, and he yells for power bomb. And I'm thinking, because the setup was that he was going to roll out of the ring, fall down, and then he was going to roll out of the ring and fall down and be like near the glass or on the glass down there next to the box. And I was going to run and do a dive flip out of the ring, and he was going to move out of the ring, and I was going to splat on into the box.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he was going to move out of the way basically, and I'm going to basically do a flip to the floor.
Mhm.
And well, what ended up happening was when he yells power bomb, instead of me power bombing him in the ring and him rolling out onto the floor, in my mind, I'm going, "Oh man, you're a crazy fool." Okay, power bomb. So I pick him up and I power bomb him onto the glass outside into the tubes from in the ring.
Yeah.
And all I remember is I went, "Okay, here we go. Oh, tuck your chin," you know. And so I pick him up and I throw him down into the box, and all I remember, I don't remember the referee's name, but he had the leather gloves on, and before I'm waiting because I'm like, I'm supposed to do a flip and him roll out of the way and land in the box and him move out of the way, right?
Right.
Well, I don't know if this dude's knocked out. I don't know what, whatever, right? Because he's just laying there. And then so the ref comes rolling up under the ring and he goes, "Hey, give him a minute. He's like he needs a minute, like he can't breathe, that kind of thing, right?" So I'm sitting there just jawing to the crowd or whatever, and eventually, I'm setting it up, letting them know, trying to give them eye contact. "I'm coming, bro. You better move, or you're gonna get splattered on it. My big old body's gonna land on you." Well, here's another thing. At the end of the match, where he climbs the ladder, and I end up pulling the ladder, and he flies over and lands on all that stuff, all the barbed wire and all the tubes and all that, right? And he crashes through the tubes. Well, I roll down there and I cover him. And as I'm covering him, he literally in right under his bicep, he's got fluorescent tubes stuck in his bicep. And he's looking at me and he goes, "Dude, look at that." He's all, "Ain't that cool?" And he's just like, "Oh man, look at that. That's cool." And I'm covering him and I'm going, he's like laughing at it, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty sick, man." I go, "But I ain't pulling that out." Oh, one time we were at ECW arena and he stapled me so good with the staple gun, and he didn't have the small staples, and he had these thick ass long ones, right? And they stuck in so deep where we had to get a pair of pliers and pull them out with pliers, and they had to go one at a time, and they broke off in my head. Oh, brutal. And then he did a dollar bill to my tongue, and he it went in so deep that when we went out and ate dinner later, I was trying to eat soup, and I was like, my tongue starts swelling up. Man, I got some good memories with
Yeah, man.
I love Supreme. He's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, but my number one memory from XPW, and is that your question? What was your question?
Yeah, whether it's match, opponent, or memory of the company, absolutely. Whatever you want to share, please.
Okay, XPW. There was a time where they said, "Hey, we want you to wrestle." He goes, "Do you mind wrestling whoever we tell you to wrestle without you knowing who you're going to wrestle?" And I went, "Okay." And they said, "Can we let you know, like, right before it happens?"
What?
Yeah. And I said, "Okay."
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, what the heck's that about? And then I'm like, "All right, well, when do you want this to happen?" And they're like, "Well, we're waiting for him to show up. He ain't showed up yet." And I'm like, "Well, when's he going to be here? Because the show's almost over. I mean, there's only 2 more matches." And I wasn't main event, and they said, "Well, he's on his way. He's changing in the cab." I'm like, "I don't have time to call a match. We don't have time to go over anything right now." He goes, "Well, you're good enough. Just put something on. You just go." And this is what Rob said he goes, just make up something. Go out there and do it." And then I find out it's Psychosis. And I'm like, does this guy even speak English? And I'm like, I don't know how good he speaks English and this and that, And so he finds out it's me, but he don't know if he can trust me. And it comes down to the what do you call it? How do you explain that? Remember I told you locker room etiquette, the veteran calls the match thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know who Carlos is? What's his name? The Mexican guy. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank right now. One of his real good friends from Mexico calls him up, And he says, Vic's good, man. He's legit. Just listen to him, you know. And I'm talking to him in the cab. And I literally, he says, yeah, man, I'm like 5 minutes away. And I go, dude, we're on next. And he goes, I'm getting dressed in the cab right now. And I said, I go, will you trust me? I said, I'll call everything in the ring. And he goes, yeah, man, just do it. I'll listen to you. Look that match up. Me and Psychosis. We had a phenomenal match, and I called everything out there.
Wow.
And, yeah, that was one of my.
Why do you think that was that they didn't want to tell you?
Maybe to see if I could do it, or maybe they didn't have an opponent for me that night. I don't know. I don't know. I really wanted to ask Kevin that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if it was Kevin. I don't know if it was Rob Black. I don't know. But at that time, you know, maybe they didn't have anybody for me that night. And Psychosis was coming. I don't know if he was coming for me. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But
that was at the Olympic, correct?
Yes, that was at the Olympic. Yeah.
Trying to remember what show it was, but
yeah.
But I will probably post that link if I can find it on YouTube in the comment section below. Or if someone beats me to it, feel free to post that as well as the match you mentioned earlier in ECW. But
Kid Cash.
That's
Kid Cash and Psycho.
I never knew about, and it's a crazy circus sometimes. You know the way it operates, and I will tell you, Vic. I mean, you are definitely. Those that know and get it, you are definitely immortalized. For you to think, you know, you're not way, no way, man, because I guarantee everybody that's going to comment on here will say the opposite. And, you know, your name is synonymous, and everybody that knows you backstage knows that you're good, just a sweetheart of a guy and a stand-up person as well. And you're there also to teach people new things, young people coming in, and I want to talk, and I want to. Well, I mean, you shared with us already all the great stuff you're doing today, with you know, the Bikers for Christ, and just completely. We, like you said earlier, like we joked on the phone, baptized in blood, now actual baptisms. You know, so I think that's wonderful, and it's a nice to see you talk about this to guys that maybe are not sure which path they want to go down, or if they're maybe a little confused, or if they maybe want to, some people compromise certain things to go a certain route, and not maybe holding on to what's good, you know, because there are temptations out there. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, but when you were talking to me on the phone, it was pretty inspiring, and your story is very interesting to the point where you could write a book, to where all the stuff you've done and where you are now, and just the contrast of both of them, just goes to show that you definitely have the ability from your direct experience to talk about those two dynamics more than anybody that's just going to read it out of a book or learn about it from an interview they see. But you've had that direct experience.
Yeah, I've been told to write a book, and they've already gave me a title, Almost Famous, and pretty good title, you know. And I don't want it to be a telltale all, because I wouldn't give names. But what you just said, you know. A few people have said to me in the past and given me some advice, you know, wrestling's about, you know, cheating on your wife, doing drugs, and a little wrestling, you know. There it is in a nutshell, you know. And if you can get past that and actually focus on what it should be about, and this is what I put it about, was what I call the 4Ds: desire, dedication, devotion, and discipline. And you put that into wrestling, you can make it overnight. I made it in 9 months. WWF contract, because that's what I did. I put desire, dedication, devotion, and discipline first. I lost that. I didn't have it anymore at the end. God took it away from me and put me in a different direction, and now I have it for Bikers for Christ.
Right.
Okay. He gave me the direction to go a different route instead of wrestling. When I first started in wrestling, I signed scriptures with autographs, or autographs with scriptures. And then eventually I was like charging, hey, give me $5 for an autograph, it was terrible, it was a whole nother, you saying I was a nice guy. Yeah, I was. But then I also had to play a role of a heel too, sometimes, where I was a jerk, and I hated that.
Yeah.
But wrestling can take you down a path where there's a lot of drugs, but you are the person that can steer yourself down what path you want to go. So you need to make your decisions on what path on that fork road that you go. So it could take you down a demon road, or it could take you down whatever road you want to go down. So life's about choices. Choose the right.
Yeah. No, thank you for that, Vic. And really, like I said, inspirational stuff, especially
my honest opinion would be to find a mentor in wrestling that's been there and done that,
right.
and try to get good advice from him. I had a student, and this is unreal, that literally came from Louisiana and left his house, left his wife and kids, packed up everything, moved to California, and knocked on my front door and said, "I'm here, train me." I looked at him and I go, "You effing idiot, what the heck's wrong with you?" I called him moron, actually. But I loved his dedication. I loved his discipline, his desire, his devotion.
Mm-hmm.
I had to find him a job. I had to let him live in the backyard. I had a mother-in-law section in the backyard and put him up, and we started training. Well, that guy, I don't know if you know who he is Luke Hawx.
Right.
You know who he is. And now, if you want to know who Luke Hawx is starring in the new Dobbs Fast and Furious movie.
That's right.
Yep. He's actually a character. He's done all the stunt work for The Rock lately. That guy, he used to be 150 pounds. He actually was the XPW. He was
King of the
Deathmatch guy.
He was the one guy that beat Supreme.
Yep, the one guy. In the King of the Death. I never even done that. I never got that belt. So he was Altar Boy Luke at the time.
Right.
You remember that? Altar Boy Luke. So he actually looks like a bodybuilder now. He's a monster. So I'm really proud. I'm proud of him. How you could, if you're looking into becoming a wrestler, find a guy that loves wrestling and that can teach you and direct you in the right path. Because there's a lot of guys out there who'll take you down the wrong path. So
that's a great story. That's a great story.
Now, one thing about Luke, he started his own school,
right?
And his own promotion. Right. He's got his own school and his own promotion, and he's doing exactly what I did to him. But I never followed through and completed my school and went to stunt and became a stunt man and an actor and all this stuff that he's doing, because he's doing all the stuff I wanted to do, but I never did it because God had different plans.
Right.
But I'm really proud of the guy. I mean, I'm proud of him, So.
Yeah.
And
kudos to you and good tributes to you for basically being the catalyst right there for Luke. And I'm sure he learned a lot from you. Otherwise, look, man, Luke always talks highly about you, my friend. Always. And he was on the show too. So it was kind of cool to get Mr. Hollywood on, on our show. But no, I mean, but that's the thing about Luke. Like like you, man, like no matter where you're at, no matter what kind of exposure you're getting, he was one of those guys, and so were you. Like when we worked at MTV for Wrestling Society X, it was to the point where when that show got on, it didn't last long, but when it did, you kind of saw, okay, these guys are the same. Oh, okay, those guys over there, they think their shit don't stink now, you know. And you were, I'd like to think I was, and Luke and guys like, no, my shit still stinks. Everybody, it smells the same, you know. So you know, he did the show here and all that, and he's always very humble guy. So as far as like whether I'm famous or not, right? He's going to talk to you the same, and you have that personality, and why it was always such a joy to be around a guy like you, and that's the type of mindset, like you're saying, great for kids to listen to, because look, young kids, they're not gonna have that bullshit detector that, let's say, you and I have, that we've been around the block a few times, we've been in this business, so we kind of know how it works. So you know, but if you really know, and if you really connect with yourself, with the big man upstairs, and you have a better chance of like deciphering those things and seeing, and not getting trapped, not getting sucked into some BS, you know. But no, thank you, Vic, for that. And thank you also for sharing that awesome Supreme story. That was very cool. Yeah. And also, you know, talking candidly about one of the infamous moments in pro wrestling history that you were involved in. You were the guy, and that really hit home. And like I said, no one's more sincere than this guy. So saying what you said today, I'm sure meant a lot to a lot of people, you know, and those that it needs to mean a lot to. I'm sure it did. And so thank you for that, man. And but before we go, man, first off, I got to say, look at this guy, ladies and gentlemen. How much weight have you lost? Because we could see it.
I actually, when you were just talking about it at Wrestling Society X, I got up there, man.
Yeah.
I was depressed. Me and my wife, we split up. You know, all since then, me and her got back together and everything's fine. But you know, food was my drug, and I got up to 580 pounds.
Yeah.
I was huge.
You were huge.
Right now I'm about 275.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's 200 pounds, dude.
Yeah. A whole nother person I lost, basically. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's why I cut the interview in half, because normally that I would have interviewed for 2 hours. The other time, I'm just kidding. No, but that's amazing. I think that was your heaviest right around that time at WSX, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, right. I've never been that. Right now, I wish I could wrestle at this weight. I could imagine what I could do. You know,
it goes back to what you're saying, like how, you know, you said you weren't tooting your own horn, and I were just talking about your physicality, like how you were built, how you were made, the punishment you could take, and the bones you just never broke. It's like most people, if they got to 580, they would not be doing the things you were doing at that weight. Not just the stuff in the ring and through WSX and all that, but there are people that most people at 580 just couldn't even get around. They would be stuck immobile. So I mean,
I always imagined in my mind that I was lighter than what I was. My uncle owned a gymnastic company. When I was a kid, I used to go there and, you know, bounce off the horse and go into the foam pit and do moonsaults and stuff, and try to, you know, even though I was big, I used to say I could do all that stuff that I see on TV, you know, and all this wrestling stuff, you know, and you know, I imagined myself doing it, even though I was a bigger guy, but I always thought of myself as like a high flyer. And so I imagined if I ever got into pro wrestling, I said, if I can have the size and the agility mixed with innovation, I got something. Maybe I can do something different. And at that time, I think it was Vader. I think that was his name. He was the guy that was doing the high flying or the moonsault, and he was, the big man or whatever, and I was like, I could do way more than that. I could do a twisting 550 or whatever, or what, I don't know what they call it now, and I was just making a joke because I could do it into a foam pit, and I remember my first day of school, and Roland Alexander at APW, he was the owner, and I literally got on the top rope and did a moonsault and landed on my feet. And
wow.
he crapped his pants, but he told me later he crapped his pants, but well, he didn't literally crap his pants, but he actually showed no emotion.
Yeah.
And told me, don't ever get on the top rope. What the hell is your problem? He goes, you don't even know how to do a wrist lock. He goes, or a lockup. He goes, learn to do that crap before you ever get up there, and that was really true.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes, learn to do that before you sail,
Yeah.
and that was smart advice, but I wanted to fly, I wanted to, do all that crazy stuff,
Yeah.
because I thought maybe that would take me to the next level,
Right.
Yeah, and that's what did eventually.
Shoot. Well, Vic, man, before we go, one last question. And that is, you're obviously a fan. You've been your whole life, like myself and like most everybody that gets in this business. You've been with a lot of different companies. You wore many different hats in this industry. Looking back, you think about all the stuff, television, home video, the rabid fan base, the reunion shows, and everything tied into the controversy. For better or for worse, what do you look at? What is the legacy, in your opinion, of XPW in the pro wrestling industry?
What is what?
What do you think the legacy of XPW will leave in pro wrestling? What is their legacy, in your opinion?
Allowing people to do what they wanted to do, allowing them to be themselves, to have a voice, a platform to where they could shine and be them. Yeah. I mean, look at Chaos. Chaos would have never been Chaos, or Johnny Webb would have never been Johnny Webb if they didn't have that. And what was that guy's name that I might be mistaken. No, that was ECW. Yeah. Tool. There's another example. He got to do what he wanted to do there, right? What I'm saying is that you could be you there.
Right.
It's like I go to WWF. They want to tell me to dye my hair white and put on a white outfit and call myself Key. That ain't Vic Grimes.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, let me be me. You would have seen a whole nother story there. You would have seen. I mean, yeah, I got you. You're playing a character, obviously, but
right.
But what I'm trying to get off is that XPW allowed you to be you. And you could
totally.
you could grow. Your character could grow there, and I like that fact. Wherever you wanted to take it, it could have went there.
Yeah, you're right. It allowed you to grow, because if you're not being yourself, it's like you by definition you can't grow. It's almost like if I'm going to take a test in school and I'm just going to copy and cheat, I can get the good grade, but I'm getting nowhere with these good grades, like myself. But if I do it, all the work myself from in here, myself, from no outside entity or someone telling me what to do, you're right. Now you're going to naturally grow, you know? And I agree with that. I was talking to Rivera.
Well, no one holds you back.
No one holds you back, and it's almost like there's no judgment in a way of, I mean, everyone busts each other's balls and all that, but like there was no censorship. There was no, I mean, everything XPW did would be canceled. For sure.
Oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. You know,
right.
I mean, I shouldn't say one organization. I literally had to approve every move I was going to do.
Wow.
Imagine that. Beforehand, no, you can't get out of the ring. No, you definitely can't touch that chair. You know, I'm like, what? You know, I mean, I'm just being entertainment. What if I don't what if I don't hit the guy with the chair?
Yeah.
You know, I'm using it as a prop.
Right.
No, you can't do that. You know, I just got to use it to climb on something, you know, to get up because it makes it easier for me to get. I'm a big guy, you know.
Yeah.
No, you can't, you know, you're not main event. You're a preliminary. You're not a mid card, you know. What I'm trying to get at is that XPW, you can do whatever you want. I mean, it was awesome. You know, that's what I liked about it. But, you know, if you're main event, what I'm trying to get at, you got to shine then, because the lower ones could take away from the main event. I know how it builds. You're supposed to build a card, you know.
Right.
So, that was one factor that, you know, you didn't want to outshine the main event, you know, obviously the goods, you know, but that was one of my things that I really preferred working for XPW, is because there was no limitations, you know. You know.
I mean, I can agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I became good friends personally with Joey Styles, and we were talking, and you know, he was telling me once, he goes, no, I mean, WCW wasn't WCW, but it's, no, you guys are doing you. You're saying whatever you say. There's nobody in your ear telling you what to say. So it worked all around the board. My position, your guys' position. And the fans, I think, dug it in a way like they were coming to an event that they knew wasn't controlled. It was a little bit more raw, real, and whether you like it or not, it's from the heart.
They never knew what they were going to get.
Totally, and
that's what I liked. You never knew what was going to come through that curtain. I mean, a tank could have rolled out through there, and they would be like, "Whoa, what's going on now?" You know, that's what I liked about it, because there was no limits. You know, so
it's
so and the fan base was really loyal. I really liked that. Yeah,
I mean, just doing this show here, it's been pretty awesome. Just the people writing in and commenting and watching, and it's just, after all these years, you know, people remember so much about it and still want to know. So it's beyond humbling to see that, and it's so cool. And you are without a doubt, with no exception, at the top of that list, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. You got it, man. Thank you, Vic. Thank you, brother. Well, hey, man, on that note, my friend, thank you not only for this interview, Vic, but just thank you for, you know, for us getting back in touch. And, you know, whether it's texting or whatever, we'll stay in touch as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, man. And if you're ever down here, you know, look me up, man. And hopefully this all will be over soon, this COVID nonsense. And
I'm sick of it. Yeah. Time to live our lives, you know.
Yeah. But Vic, it was great. You look awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you look great, man. And that's a huge, and really quick, a part of that weight loss was keto, right? Keto based kind of.
Yeah, it was actually a diet called Optivia, which is keto
Okay.
based. Yeah.
Well, hopefully
So,
that'll, if that's not going to inspire somebody, I don't know what will. So thanks for sharing that and everything else you shared, Vic. And if there's
yeah,
anything
no
else you want
problem.
to
No
say,
problem. Yeah.
anything
All
else
right.
you want to say before we go, anything to
All right. Take
plug or
care.
church, anything? Can you hear me?
No, well, any of you guys ride motorcycles and want to be involved in a motorcycle ministry, rideforhim.com. Look us up. That's
Sounds
about
good.
it.
We'll post a link down below in the comment section as well, Vic. Folks, my name is Kris Kloss, and this is Xtreme Memories. My guest today was the one and only, the legendary, the man himself, Vicious Vic Grimes. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. The more you subscribe, the more great content we can bring you. For Vic Grimes, my name is Kris Kloss. This is Xtreme Memories, and we are out.
All right.
Thank you for watching Xtreme Memories, hosted by Kris Kloss. He's dropping new episodes every month on the 15th and 30th. You can be the first to tune in by subscribing to the Wrestling Chatter channel right here on YouTube. See you next time.